It is Monday morning. This Week in Startups firing up again. The only weekly show that is 5 days a week. What a crazy idea. I was like, wow, we're doing twice a week. And they're like, we're sold out for 6 months. I was like, great, let's go to 3 days a week. They're like, we're sold out for 4 months. I'm like, great, let's go to 4 days a week. They're like, you can't do 5 days a week, JCal. There's only one JCal. How are you going to do 5 days a week? I said, well, we'll figure it out when we get there. And that was like last year. And now here we are. And we sort of figured it out. We got 3 producers. We got Charles on the 1s and 2. We got 2 people selling the ads, Jamie and Matt. So pretty good. The only possible problem here is if I were to get COVID or the flu. And I did play some flu games, in the last season here, where I just had no choice but to do the show. And then when I went to Italy for vacation for 2 weeks, which wound up being 3 weeks, I did the news show in the 3rd week. And I banked a bunch of episodes and maybe did 4 days a week those weeks. But this is a challenge. I basically have put myself on like a never-ending marathon, and I don't know exactly what to do here. I think I need to get a co-host or something, but it's very hard to find people who would be a good co-host, who understand tech and who are good on camera. It's not like podcast hosts just grow, at least great ones don't grow on trees. And I would need to have somebody to co-host here that you all liked, who had credibility, maybe brought a slightly different perspective than mine. So I'm working on that. Who would be a good co-host here on This Week in Startups to talk about tech and entrepreneurship and business and the world? Who would be a good don't say one of the besties, obviously. I have them on that. Rachel would be a good co-host. Yeah. She's that's a draft pick that we're developing. So we've been developing producer Rachel. That's why she's
Zen Prophet.
Zen Prophet would be great co-host. Zen Prophet, bring him right in. Antonio Garcia is a great guest. Would he be a great co-host? That's an interesting one. He likes to travel and do his own thing, so that'd be hard. That's the other thing. You need somebody consistent who wants to put in the work. That's the Kevin Rose would be great. Yes, but see, you're pointing out people who are so far beyond wanting to be a co-host on This Week in Startups. So that's Warren Buffett. Perfect. Yes, I'm sure he's available. Kara Swisher is the perfect one. And
what about Jesus? Jesus would be a good co-host.
Jesus is my co-pilot. So
that's true.
I am always with the Holy Spirit here. See, Kara Swisher is a good one because when Kara Swisher was doing her show, Pivot, they had a short list. And me and Chamath were on the short list, but we weren't available. And they got past the short list and they went to the medium list. And then they got some NYU professor who, thinks that Tesla's going to zero. I saw those clips. It's just like, the professor said, Tesla's going to zero. Oh, and it was just like, ooh, it's so painful to watch. It's almost like, I don't mean to dog the guy because, it's obviously comparable. We both put a little bit of performance on and we both have strong opinions, but oh my Lord. It's just so, Elon would be good. Yeah, he wants to do more podcasting, actually. Dave Portnoy would be great, but he's got his own thing. See, you're all picking people like me. So, you pick Howard Stern or you pick, you're picking Jimmy Fallon. You need to have like a, little bit, you got to lower, it can't be that high that they have their own show and have no need to come here. That's the T. Now you perfectly picked out the challenge. JT Fox and Grant Cardone. Wow, now I'm being trolled by table salt. Unbelievable. All right, so just to my noties, I got to give love to Amar, number 1, Mike, number 2. Brandon, number 3, Jeremy, number 4, Emil, number 5. God, it's coming in so fast. I can't even do it. Brandon, Joe, Michael, Patrick, Manaz, you're up to 10. And then Robert, Spark, Dustin, Table Salt, Brandon, Warren, Lita, Alexander, Josh, Toby, Zen Prophet, STG 80. We know the crew. Just everybody here. So great to see my notey. We got a big week this week. Yeah, Grant Cardone is a weird dude, man. I hear it. That dude is weird. All those money-making guys are weird. I'm always super careful when I do Founder University or Angel University to not tip into their kind of smarmy systems. That's why I make them free. With Founder University, we're doing this 12-week course. I said it's $700 to come. If you come to all 12 weeks, you get the money back, and I'll invest $35K in one of the companies just to come over the top and not get bucketed into those JT Fox coaching madness. But it really is hard because you want to be helpful to people. You want to call it a course. And then those people are coming in creating courses that are just, just gross. So gross.
Jason, before we get too deep, could you
want me to do QuickTime?
please?
Yeah,
Thank you.
Okay. All right. QuickTime is now loaded and recording. You're asking me, why would I do QuickTime? It's like, well, we want to have great audio quality, so we always do great audio quality. Great week last week on the show, by the way, and all in pod, really great. There is a TikTok account it's a TikTok account that's making clips of the show, and what they're doing that's very creative. And I'm in touch with the guys, by the way, Nick. I'm DMing with them, and they sent me their LinkedIn's and emails. And they're like, we think we're trying to make a business. One of them's in Colombia. They're both like in college or high school or something. And I'm like, all right, yeah, I'll hire you guys to do something. But they're going crazy doing all of these clips. And I think they had 2 million clips last week. And the one where I went off on Meta and Facebook was at 600,000 views. And I think that might be causing some people to search for All In, in their podcast player, because I noticed All In hit 125 overall. Obviously, it hits number one in tech. So, yeah, it's really doing great. And then we'll have a big bestie guestie on Friday. Some of you who are on Twitter might be able to guess which.
Are you in contact with?
Yes, I'm in contact with the secret guest.
With Senor Bleep?
Yes, with Senor Bleep. I am in contact with him.
Okay.
I gave him my email. He is having his assistant email me today, and he said he is on for Friday at 11 a.m. So
hell yeah.
That should be a good one. A little crossover. I like a little crossover.
Yeah, it's in your Bleep.
It's in my Bleep, yes. Steve Gilmore was great. I used to love doing Steve Gilmore's show. Oh, wow. So a lot of the I see a lot of LinkedIn coming in here now. That's great to see. So yeah, keep it in mind. If you can find me a co-host, that'd be great to have a co-host here. So the days I'm off. And then also, I used to like when somebody read the news to me and then I commented and then I read the news and somebody else took the first comment. You remember when I used to do the news roundtable? The problem is everybody has day jobs. So you got to get somebody who will commit. And that is the problem. Because nobody wants to do. It's the problem with millennials. I was talking to somebody, very high profile person, serial entrepreneur. And if I told you the 3 companies he started, Beep, Beep, and Beep, you would have used and known all Beep, Beep, and Beep. And he had a union organizing thing last year. And we were just talking about how hard it is to be an entrepreneur now, because once your company gets to a certain scale and you start hiring people, there's a group of people you hire who hate going to work and who hate rich people or entrepreneurs, but they're taking jobs working for entrepreneurs, and they go to work and then they make it like a political statement that they have to fight their bosses. And it's like, why did you come to work here if you didn't believe in the mission? And they're like, well, I need a job, but I don't want to work for a capitalist. And it's like, okay, you could work for the state. It's like, you could work at the government, I guess. You could go to a communist or socialist country and work in a bread line or something. I don't know. It was a very weird conversation between 2 Gen Xers. Are you having this conversation amongst yourselves to the Noti Gang, where there's a group of people going to work, but who hate work and hate capitalism, but they're going to work for capitalists? And have you had this conversation yet about people who hate? Yeah, it's kind of weird. They hate capitalism. The funny part about the people who hate capitalism is they're all really upset but they're consuming like crazy. Hire CP the franchise. That would be great. I love CP. My Knicks 5-1. Woo, man. I went to this Omakase dinner on Saturday night with this famous chef. I shared some pictures on my Instagram.com/Jason. And they're like, oh, it's a 12-person dinner, and this chef from this restaurant is coming, and it's 18 courses. And I kid you not, it was like 18 courses. I mean, each piece of fish counted as a course, but truffles and caviar and otoro, my favorite. And I got the Knick game. The Knick game starts at 4. This thing started at 6:30. I'm like, so I'm showing up 45 minutes late for this thing. I'm in the driveway. I'm like, the game is ending. I'm trying to get my comments into Knicks Fan TV before I go in there. I mean, it was tough. It was tough. But what a game. Oh, my Lord. Congrats to RJ Randall.
That's got to be a tough call. Food versus the Knicks. That's got to be a tough
for
one.
me, very tough. I mean, if it was me, I would just be like, I'm going to the Knicks game and I'm eating a Domino's pizza.
Your
Think
tweet
about
was
it.
funny because you had two exactly opposite replies from Kevin O'Connor and then another NBA Twitter person. And one of them was like, hey, man, listen, there's 82 games. Don't worry about it. Go get the dinner. And then the other person was like, you've waited 15 years for the Knicks to be good. Who gives a shit about sushi? Watch the Knicks.
I mean, it's just such a magical season already. Oh. Did you watch the game on Saturday, Nick?
That was actually the first game I missed. I had places to be Saturday night. So no.
Yes. That's tough on a Saturday night versus the Pelicans with no
Yeah.
Zion. But
Yeah.
oh my
Especially
Lord, where's
Halloween.
Zion? Oh yeah, Halloween. Did you dress up?
I was.
Let's put the producers up for a second here. Let's get a little. Get everybody on the horn. Come on, let's see everybody. I want to go around the horn and find out. We didn't do Halloween here. We should have done Halloween.
We did.
Here.
Yeah, we did.
What do you mean? We should have done it on the show. We should have done a Halloween look. We should have also done that on
an episode. Yeah.
So who are you for?
I was
Halloween.
You ever see that picture of Justin Timberlake and Britney Spears when they're in all denim in like 1997?
That's a no. That is a pull, but okay.
So I just wore a denim jacket and jeans, and my wife Rachel wore a denim stuff too. It was very basic, but it was good. We went to a big Halloween party.
Did anybody guess who you were?
Yeah, like I guess it's pretty big with people my age, 26, 27.
Justin has the perm in that one, right? He's got the curly hair perm.
No, he actually had a denim cowboy hat on, but I didn't have a denim cowboy hat. So I just had normal hair. There you go.
Oh,
that's it.
I actually have not seen that. That is horrible. Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's just too much denim.
There was a lot of denim.
That's a lot.
It was funny. I actually made the call last minute. My wife was pissed at me because I was like, we were going to be nerds. And I was like, it's a little chilly tonight. Why don't we just go all denim, bundle up? We'll do Timberlake and Britney. And we made the switch last minute. Yeah.
I think it's a good audible because, when your wife's cold, this is like one of the things you're going to learn about marriage.
Yep.
Like if your wife is cold or hungry or you don't open the door for her, like these are things that could just ruin the night. Like you got to keep certain things tight. Like if you're going out for the evening, just take the time to open the door, take the time to make sure she's warm and keep a couple of protein bars in the glove. That's what I always do. I'm like, I actually have a protein bar here just in case you were hungry.
Yeah.
And now I got 3 daughters. So when the hangry happens, like when we are driving to Tahoe, like we did a couple of weekends ago, and like all of a sudden I got 3 daughters who are hangry. And oh my God, the minivan was...
Guys can get hangry too, though. It's not gender specific.
I don't think it's gender specific, but I'm the captain of the ship. I'm responsible for making sure when we stop, so I'm trying to always get a couple of extra exits in while they're sleeping or whatever. And I'm pushing the envelope on that. One person needs a bathroom. We're talking about 5-year-olds, 11-year-olds.
I think you've made another faux pas there thinking that you're the captain. Like, come on.
Well, I mean, there's a certain amount of responsibility in the driver's seat. I take it seriously, and I'm trying to plan out the trip. I'm also trying to plan out the bathroom breaks. I'm trying to, one of them likes to get the tuna melt. The other one wants In-N-Out burger. So I'm negotiating tuna melt on the way out, In-N-Out burger on the way back. It's just the thing, I'm trying to be super. Rachel, what did you go out Saturday night? Did you go out or not? Or say it's private, none of your business, boss.
Yeah. No. I went out as like a 60s, 70 person called Twiggy, which was just like a 60s outfit. And then I went as a unicorn. Yeah. It's 2 different.
Wait, you went out 2 nights?
Yeah.
You doubled down? Friday, Saturday, or Saturday, Sunday?
I did. Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Oh, okay. So it's a little rough morning here. Oh, okay.
No, not at all.
Okay. Going on Sunday night's a bold move. We've got to be on
Sunday. Sunday was just with my family. I got to see my brother at college, so just dinner.
Charles, did you take the kids out trick-or-treating, or are you still on lockdown? You did?
No, we went out. Yeah, I was Harry Potter and Finn was a Slytherin.
Wow.
Nice. Imagine my disappointment that he's in a different house.
Yeah. Wow. You English people are weird. Are you allowed to go as Harry Potter since J.K. Rowling has officially been canceled?
Oh, good question.
I'm not on Twitter, so I don't know about canceling.
Oh, well, yeah, Twitter's not a real place anyway, so don't worry about it.
I like the books. I like the books. They're fun. We're reading them,
I like this one. J. Cal's costume should have been dressed as G-Eazy. I like G-Eazy. I would do that, yeah. Producer Rachel looks like a 1960s Faye Dunaway. All right, take it easy, Zen Profit. I knew this was going to
Jesus
happen at some
Christ.
point. Take it easy.
Thirsty.
Now we're going to
Zen
start getting
Profit, you're
Rachel
canceled.
stands.
I'm
along with the
canceling
J-
Zen Profit.
Yeah, Zen Profit's great, but
Canceled.
let's not. Yeah, no. And Justin has no life, so there's no reason to ask him. He was at home.
That
in
is the
Williamsburg.
opposite of what's true.
Oh, really?
Like,
Did you
yeah.
guys? Did you guys
He had, like, the
meet
coolest
between
plans.
Hoboken and
No,
Williamsburg?
Justin had a party. No, I was in the city.
What?
Justin had a party at his house.
And didn't invite the other producers to the party? Controversy here. Did you invite Nick or no?
Nick was already describing his plans, so I didn't want to.
He was in Bed-Stuy, so that's too
Yeah,
far.
I'm
So
far.
you hosted a party.
Well, we did. It was a success.
Great success.
I think so. Yeah, a great
Nice,
success. It was.
So this is a millennial party. Does that mean there's no caterer? You just everybody brings a bottle and throws it on the bar in your kitchen?
And mostly Molotov cocktails to protest capitalism, but especially in Brooklyn.
But it's everybody brings a bottle. You have red cups. I'm picturing, and somebody's connecting their
there's
iPhone
definitely
to a
red
Sonos
cups.
unit or something.
No, we have a lot of speakers.
Okay.
Yeah.
And dancing or no dancing?
Definitely dancing. We're
Really?
invested in speakers. Yeah.
DJ or no DJ? Or just
DJ for
playlist?
sure. Yeah.
Whoa.
Well, not
Was
like
there a bartender or no bartender?
no bartender
Self-serve.
at this one.
Okay, all right. So self-serve,
Self-
but a DJ, hired DJ, or just one of your friends spun, or you took turns?
Yeah, I probably got like 5 friends that DJ. So
Got it. Okay. So when we say DJ, we mean you rotated the DJ duty. I'm just trying to get a vibe.
yeah. Well, I mean, some of my friends left the party to go DJ at like gigs, like a hotel and stuff. So
Really? Well, wow, you're
Yeah,
running back.
nightclub.
The DJ market is saturated. I know like 3 or 4 DJs too. It's preposterous how many people can make money being DJs.
I have 5 friends who are all Gen X, and they're now DJs. And like they're practicing DJing, they're
Crazy.
live streaming their DJing, they're sending me clips in group chats, and I'm like, no, don't need your plenty of music on Spotify. Do not need your remix of this. Sorry.
No, but the thing about DJing is you're reading the room and putting on the appropriate tune. I used to DJ a bit. It was great fun. And it's nice to be able to have a person that you can, vibe with and feel the mood. And with Spotify, I can't see what's happening.
Do you have a bud tender or just a bartender? Bud tender or bartender?
Bud tender.
we're in
I
New
know it's
York.
Williams. It's
so I think
Bed-Stuy. Is there bud
the
tender or
rules
just
just
bartender?
changes. No bud tender.
No bud tender. Okay. All right. All right. Let's get the show done here. Okay. There's enough banter. Show notes. Just as I say that, the dog starts barking. So let's just talk about the week ahead. I have the news here. Okay. I have the Apple news. I have the Bytedance news. That's interesting. Roblox went down. Nobody cares. I got some fan mail. That's nice. Did you have my jargon watch? Did you put that in here? Did I ask for?
No, I didn't put it in today because the
Okay.
last time that happened, we tried to get it in with 10 minutes to go.
Got it. Okay.
and
So let's do it
did not
thoroughly
like
tomorrow.
so I figured we'd do it
All right,
tomorrow.
is there any jargon people want us to discuss? I noticed all the crypto people have been doing GN, which is good night, but it might mean something else in their context, and 3,3, something. I don't know what that one stands for yet, but I know WGMI, we're going to make it, not going to make it. So any acronyms from, I want to do Jargon Watch, which was a Wired feature that we can just crib where we just let the audience know about jargon and buzzwords. So I want you guys to do that. One thing I just wanted to, for the production, for the producers, it's important that we have news in the show because people expect me to do top news, but I'm noticing too much top news and not enough hunting for interesting news. So remember we talked about going on Slashdot or Hacker News, Reddit, trying to find some nugget that people haven't heard before about either a world positive technology, a science, a new cool app, that kind of stuff. Can we get a couple of those this week that are just not the top 3 tech stories that everybody's talking about already? And
Yeah.
not saying we don't want those stories. We have to cover the big stuff.
Definitely.
So it's not, this is not an or, it's an and. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. So let's just make an effort for that. I would say 2 for 1 would be the way I would do it. Cover the Roobit scams. Roobit scams? What's that? ROOBET? I don't know those scams. Are those the NFT scams that are going on? I saw that some Bored Apes got
Yes.
stolen this weekend, and people were freaking the fuck out.
Michael has sent us some info on Twitter, so we can review that as the production team and give you.
Oh, so Michael sent stories. You ignored him, and then he comes on the show as a Noti Gang, and then now we're paying attention to him. Really? Okay.
I did not ignore him. I
did you reply? Did you reply back?
I gave him a heart. I needed to process it.
A heart. All right. I'm looking for a little bit more than that. What is the story about? What is this robot scam about? Somebody tell me.
It's well, he shared the CoffeeZilla did an investigation into a company called Rubit, and it's offshore gambling that was using NFTs to wash some stuff. So
got it.
It was definitely
That's
interesting.
A great example of a story I would like you to be ahead of that I haven't seen in the New York Times or Tech Meme or trending on Twitter yet. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking to get a little bit earlier. You see how CoffeeZilla is finding stuff before you? That's what I want.
Definitely.
Get me that. That's what I want. Three full-time producers I've got. Get me a little something before everybody else gets it. Take a little more risk here. Slashdot, great place. Hacker News, great place. Reddit, great place. Indie Hacker, great place. Product Hunt, a great place. Like, can we make a list of where to source interesting trend stuff? Where do you, for the audience who's here, where do you look for interesting trending stuff, or where do you find it? Do you have a subreddit where you find it? Hacker News? Some obscure place. You understand what I'm trying to talk about? Like, here's one. Material 3D printing. Yeah, so the gambling sites is interesting. Oh, by the way, I saw somebody explain NFT washing and did a really good explanation of it. What they did was they said you buy your own NFT from yourself. Then you create you take some bogus account that you create
like
with your
wallet,
crypto in it.
Create like an extra wallet.
Create an extra wallet offshore. You put your crypto in that offshore. Then that offshore one buys the NFT from you, and I guess you pay your taxes on it or whatever. Now your offshore still owns the thing, and you sell it at a higher price, and you don't make note of it or something. So they said all these NFTs are being used to launder money. People are trading them with each other, which is that painting the tape that I always bring up, like creating false volume. So if you create a trail of like, hey, this thing sold, it would be like buying and selling a house 7 times. And you're like, well, people paid more for it each time. And it's been going up 7% every year, in this case, weeks. You get the idea. Instagram meme. Jake, I'll have a blast. Yeah, I followed some of those Instagram meme accounts, but you know what? They just get a little too crazy. And then like somebody over my shoulder sees that on Instagram and it's like a little too nuts. And then they're too many memes too fast.
Shout out to Praying for Exits, though. That's my
Praying for Exits is great. I love that. He's going to come on the show. We got to get him on here. All right. Yeah. So anyway, I want you guys to have a little bit of a curation punch list. So do we have a punch list on Notion of where to curate from and how to curate?
No, not a punch list.
Okay, good. So let's make a doc. Remember, we're going to do writing first. So let's call this project haystack. Project Haystack. Find a needle in a haystack, like finding like little needles in a haystack kind of situation. Maybe some accounts that are pretty good at this on Twitter. Maybe some users on Slashdot who submit really interesting things. But you can kind of draft off of other aggregators and communities that find the stuff earlier. And let's just have a little. Can you share the punch list? Yeah, we could. Sure, why not? But Project Haystack. Well, this is one of the things I'm doing. I moved to the writing culture. Some of you missed the book club, but we read a book about Amazon, and they write things up. So try to write it, Nick, in the way they do those 6 pages. It doesn't have to be 6 pages; it could be 1 page. But and I'll show you a draft. I did it at Inside this week. Super powerful. Like I had a new idea. I wrote this thing. I had my executive team meeting on Friday, Nick. Everybody read the document, put comments in it. 100% of people knew exactly what I did. And then it forced me, because I spent 45 minutes writing this thing, and I reread it to myself 3 times. And I did the thing where I highlighted it and I had the computer read it to me. And I just looked for bullshit and fat, cut it out, made it tight. And there were no questions at the end. There were just ideas and punch ups and stuff like that. It's a really cool Amazon process. What we should do is, I want to explain each of those Amazon. So there's another kind of thing, we do 2 news stories, but there's Dragon Watch, and then there's like a business practice or best practices kind of thing. So I think doing a best practice where I explain it in my voice, here's the PR FAQ. Let me explain to you how it works. would be super cool for people. You guys would like me to explain best practices at startups? I think that'd be cool. And then if we had a co-host here, like, they could ask questions about it and follow-ups, but okay. All right, let's do the show here. And then if you guys want to thumb up on how many people are viewing on YouTube right now, we got 50, 100 people viewing. I'd like to see the number of thumbs up hit
on
like
YouTube.
50%.
We have 128.
Okay, perfect. And how many thumbs up do we have on YouTube?
That I will have to go and look.
20.
20, there you go. Oh, come on now, YouTube.
Come on, everybody. Let's smash the thumbs up. And the reason I want to do that is that's how the algorithm finds these shows. So smash the thumbs up. Let's have the algorithm find the show. Then hit subscribe and put on notifications if you haven't. If you're here, you probably have done that already. But thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up.
Just double.
Well, here's the thing.
Seconds.
What we'll see is if we get that to 80% of the number, so if it were to hit 80 out of like 100, when there's that high of a ratio, when you smash the thumbs up, as the YouTubers say, the algorithm starts showing it to more people because the percentage is great. And that's where we get this thing. But we've been turning these videos off. So I wonder if we should leave them on. I don't know. They were getting a couple thousand views, but they're kind of
they always do well. We could leave them up for a couple hours.
Or leave them up. I don't know if there's a downside to leaving them up.
Yeah, we could do that.
All right, let's try leaving them up and see. Let's leave them up and see what happens.
Yep.
But don't put them on the front page. So if people know to find them on videos, maybe.
Yeah. So basically, on the front page, you have two options. You can customize the video for new people coming to your channel and then for returning subscribers, right? So for the promo that we're working on, that promo is going to be for new people to the channel. That's what they'll see. When a returning subscriber comes, they'll see the most recent episode that we're featuring up there, right? And we have the choice to either feature the live stream recording or not. So we just won't feature them. So you can find them if you search for it, but not if you just
but then people won't know that I do the live stream. So then
they will. It still will pop up in their trending on the first. So when you go to YouTube, the first two lines are like videos of people that you follow.
Well, I'm saying that for people who are new to the channel, they don't know I do live. So maybe we name these live recording, and then we have a live playlist. People can watch the live because we turned them all off, right? But we still have
we make them all private, but they're all still there, so we could just make them public again.
Why don't we make them all public and make a playlist of all the live shows and just see how it does, and then feature a live show on the homepage and let's see.
Yep.
Okay, great. And how many thumbs up do I have now? And then how many viewers? Because we can actually see this happen in real time.
69 thumbs up.
And the viewers
134 viewers.
So we added like 15 viewers. So you see what's happening. It's like the algorithm we're basically breaking the algorithm right now. We're basically gaming the algorithm. And if you guys all put a comment, so go ahead and on YouTube, tell me what city you're in and who your favorite guest was. Either of those two questions. How old are you? So age, favorite episode, and city. So there's a number in there. There's a city in there. And your favorite episode. So it might be like, I'm 25, it's Chris Saka, and it's, Texas or something like that. So go ahead and, what do you mean no comments? Do we turn comments off on this video? Or is it, we don't get comments now?
That was just a comment by Miguel.
There's only live chat.
There's only live chat during a live video. There's no comment
function.
Got it.
Exactly.
That's what I thought. Yeah. Only chat is available. So I'm sorry. I meant chat. So if everybody could chat, and I see it coming in now. Bangalore, India, 35. Saudi Arabia, the kingdom, no age. London, old, Saka. Vancouver, Austria. Toronto, 24, Fitbod. Napa, California, 26. And Peter TL. Boston, 42. Milwaukee. Cambridge, UK. Halifax, Canada. Wow. Colorado Springs, 47. Amazing. Philadelphia, 31. Hamburg. Jeff Lawson was a great guest, 23. Los Angeles, 42. Canada, 48. Vancouver, Detroit. New Royd, very cool. 40 years old. I can't see the flag. It's so tiny. Contest. London, 25. Hamburg, India. Chicago suburbs, Toronto. Athens, Greece. Upa. Oh, Lita's in Athens? That's great. Great. Rachel, we had another... should we do a little update too on the Meetup Mondays? And just talk about Meetups on Mondays. So why don't you write a couple bullet points and get the photos of every Meetup that's occurred, and then I'll call on you last, and we'll just show all the photos of all the Meetups and give a shout out to everybody. And then, did you see my note about creating / the city name this week in startup /
Yes, that has been done.
That has been done. or hasn't?
Yes, that was done Friday. That has been done. I got that done pretty
Great.
late Friday.
So the
but
reward
it has not
is
been shared
great.
with the
So the
founders.
reward is if you get mission 1 done, we'll make you your own dedicated page. So then they can just say to people, thisweekinstartups.com/Miami. Right?
Awesome. Yep.
I think that's kind of
Sounds
a cool
awesome.
thing. All right, here we go. Finding live chat gold. Okay, so now tell me, how many views and how many thumbs up do we have? Now that everybody started commenting like crazy.
151 viewers, 78 thumbs up.
See that? Everybody who's watching, please smash the thumbs up. We're doing a little experiment here. If the thumbs up gets smashed in percentage to the number of viewers, 150 viewers, 80, we're about 50% right now. My understanding is when you hit like 70%, 80%, it just goes bonkers because people realize it's whatever. So everybody hit the smash thumbs up. Thank you for your squad. And let's start the show. Okay, I got my QuickTime is still running.
Oh, by the way, the company, so the Financial Times article references a ad tech company called Lotame who created these estimates. It's Lotame. It's pronounced Lotame. Lotame.
I don't even see it. Where does it say Lotame in here?
It's the 4th or 5th bullet point down. I'm hovering over it right now. Lotame.
I don't see you on here. Let me reload the page. Sometimes it.
104 likes.
There you go. Boom. So anyway, it's really good for the algorithm when that happens. I'll do questions for every 25. So you got 4 questions, folks. You can start asking questions. When you do question, put QQ : and then answer your question so it's easy for us to find. And you can use the emoji. You know the guy going Do that like emoji if you know how to use emojis. And then QQ and put your question. And you can ask me a question about anything: life, traveling, startups, angel investing. So I still don't see you. Now I see. Okay. Lotame. Where is it? Got it. Okay, here we go. 3, 2. Okay, everybody, in our first story today, Apple's privacy features that you've heard about from their iOS 14.5 update are costing, according to a third-party service, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Snapchat, about $10 billion in combined lost revenue in the second half of 2021. This is a story from the Financial Times. If you don't remember, Apple introduced app tracking transparency back in April as part of their iOS 14.5 update. I covered that in episode 1204 if you want to go deep. Basically, iPhone users are opting out of being tracked. This means it's difficult to target advertising from the big advertising networks. The big 2, where the majority of advertising occurs on the internet, are obviously Facebook and Google/YouTube. Twitter and Snapchat are minor players in this huge advertising machine that is the internet. But Apple has stopped their ability to target specific phones and track you and retarget you and all that good stuff that advertisers love. And so when users opt out of being tracked, it basically makes the cost go up because you're going to need more impressions and you're going to have a lower click-through rate. So the way advertising works on the internet, you will pay typically for each click that happens. And a click for an app, usually $1 or $2, in some cases $10, $20 for certain groups of users. Now, who in their right mind is going to pay $1 per click or $5 per click? Well, if it's a video game that has some kind of upselling in it or coins or mana or whatever it is, and they have whales in the system who are spending $100 on coins a month, that means if they spend $1 per person to click and they get out of 100 people 50 downloads, the cost per click is $1, the cost per download is $2. And then if 1 out of 50 people spends more than $100, they're in the black. In other words, they're profitable. And so this science is why you see certain types of apps constantly being advertised to you on Facebook and other services, Twitter, and it's typically games that are the ones that are really aggressive about trying to get you to pay to get to the next level. So all of this comes from an ad tech company I've never heard of called Lotame, Lotame. And they note that advertisers are responding by cutting spending. So we knew this would happen. This would be a big, huge tailwind for Apple and their ad network, because Apple does sell ads to promote apps. It would be a headwind against these large ad networks. And if you know more about the person, you can present ads to people who are more likely to click. What does this mean? There's a certain amount of ad inventory on, let's say, YouTube, or a certain amount of ad inventory on Facebook and Instagram. If you get 1 out of 10 people to click on an ad today, and then tomorrow you get 1 out of 100, that means the ad network is 10 times less efficient. In other words, you're using up more of the impressions, people seeing the ad, to get the same number of clicks. But if you know that your app works really well with a certain demographic, women who are 35 years old, who have these other apps on their phone, who have visited these websites, you get the idea. Or this type of phone. It might be that people who have older phones really like these Bejeweled games. It might be people with the newer phones might really like the first-person shooters. Who knows? The algorithm is actually trying to make sense of all this. And that's where all the gains in advertising and the money printing ad networks are getting their gains from. That's why Google bought the big AI company, DeepMind, back in the day. It wasn't that they wanted to win at chess or Go. Those are just, shiny little PR stunts. What they really wanted to do was make the ad network smarter and give you better ads, target them better, so the same amount of inventory would make more money. That's known as efficiency, right? And that's why the money printing machines of Google and Facebook have done so well. Apple has decided we're going to stop letting people target, therefore the efficiency goes down. And according to Low2Me, they estimated that Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Snapchat, quote, lost 12% of revenue in the third and fourth quarters, or $9.85 billion. I'm not sure how they get to that. Financial Times notes that may be conservative. They also note Google is not as impacted, which is interesting. Now, why is Google not impacted? Pretty obvious if you think about it. Google, you type a word in a box, and the word is typically what you're looking for, right? You don't search for something you're not looking for. If you type in Volvo, you're not looking for chocolate chip cookies. And if you type in chocolate chip cookie recipes, you're probably not looking for a Volvo. Facebook and YouTube create a psychographic profile of you based on your behavior. Google has that as well, but they know the keywords you put in. If you type in first-person shooter or Angry Birds or Bejeweled, we kind of know that these games that are like Bejeweled will show you more of those, right? Pretty simple. And that's why Google is going to not be as impacted by this. YouTube will be, but not Google. So here's a chart for those of you taking a look at the YouTube channel. Our YouTube is youtube.com/thisweekin. And if you go there, hit subscribe, and then hit the little bell, which is the notification bell, and you'll be part of the notification gang. And you'll see when I go live. I tape the show live every day, and a couple hundred people watch it live. So if you want to watch This Week in Startups live, go to youtube.com/thisweekin. Click not just subscribe, but click the bell next to it. You'll get a notification once a day when I go live, which is kind of cool. So you can just see it here. Facebook was the one that got murdered the most. And this is why Facebook is spending so much money on Meta. They know that the next compute platform Apple is betting on is AR. That's why Facebook is now absolutely trying to beat Apple at AR and VR. That is the big battle we'll see in the next 5 years. Compute went from being your desktop, then it went to laptops, then it went to phones and tablets. Next up, social media became a big platform, the internet before that. What's the next one? Most people believe it's VR and AR. I'm not going to call it the metaverse. It's kind of corny. Going to be augmented reality is the big one for me. I think it's a bit of a head fake. But yeah, 8 billion lost by Facebook, because Facebook, you don't type in a keyword. Facebook needs to spy on you and get all that data. That's why Facebook is so good at targeting and became so great. And in the beginning, we all thought Facebook wasn't going to work for advertising because algorithms weren't sophisticated. AI wasn't sophisticated 10 plus years ago when Facebook came out. So the ads on Facebook used to be really annoying. And then slowly, as they knew your circle group, they could say, hey, people in your circle are clicking on Volvo ads. Maybe we'll show you a Volvo ad and see what happens. Maybe your group is just everybody's got Volvo. That's why some people think that like devices are listening to us. You ever have this experience? A bunch of your friends were like, we were talking about, Volvos, and, my friend saw a Volvo on their Instagram the next day. And so we know that it was listening to our phones. No. What happened was your phones were all in the same geography. Your phones and your accounts were all friends with each other, and you comment on each other's content. Then out of your friend group of the top 100 people, 7 of you were talking about the Volvo and you searched for it, or maybe there was a discussion thread about it. The other 93 may have been shown the Volvo ad when the AI was testing. If these 7 people in this tight network of friends, and maybe 1 degree or 2 degrees, wow, when we showed Volvo ads, another 40% of people, okay, so maybe you live in the Northeast, maybe Volvos are, the hot new thing. You get the idea. So this makes you think that it's listening to you when in fact it's watching your behavior online, and there is obviously an overlap between the real world and the digital world. So Snapchat lost the most relative revenue due to their focus on smartphones. Again, Facebook has a lot of desktop, Google has a lot of desktop, but Snap is all online. So kind of sucks for Snapchat. And so a lot of these companies are just going to have their valuations compressed a little bit until they figure this out. Some people might have so much traffic like Facebook that they can just solve for this by showing more ads to people. And that, of course, ruins the consumer experience a little bit. But according to the Financial Times article, Twitter ads, quote, rely more on context and branding than on tracking consumers' mobile habits. So Twitter's ad sales rose 41% last quarter. So they don't seem to be as impacted by this. That directionally makes sense. When they say they rely more on context and branding than on tracking consumers' mobile habits, you ever see that when you load Twitter, whatever the big movie is that weekend, whatever the big TV show on streaming is, so Dune or the latest Marvel movie will be there. That's because Twitter is such a part of the zeitgeist that all of those people who are trying to be part of the discussion, TV shows, movies, gadgets, they will buy out the entire run of the site. They want everybody in America talking about the latest Netflix show or talking about Dune or talking about whatever streaming service it is. So that makes a lot of sense to me. When Tim Cook was asked about this by analysts last Thursday, he said, "We believe strongly that privacy is a basic human right." And so that's our motivation there. There's no other motivation. So people are saying Apple is doing this to grow their own ad business, and that's hypocrisy. That's just an added benefit. I actually believe Tim Cook when he says that. My understanding is, and I haven't seen this, I don't know if any of you have. If you're in the chat room right now, tell me if you have seen ads when you're in the App Store, but I haven't seen ads in the App Store. I don't know why. But has anybody seen them? I haven't seen them in Apple's App Store. So is Apple's focus on privacy bad faith? No, it's a feature. If you look at VPNs, DuckDuckGo, all the different privacy related browsers out there, VPNs and other software, people using email relays, consumers actually care now. Consumers are starting to care. And it went from being a very niche thing to care to being something that now a broader group of people want their privacy back. And Apple is brilliant for doing this. If Facebook really wants to get ahead of this, I've been saying this for a decade. When you load Facebook or Instagram, it should say, would you like to opt out of tracking and have no ads in your feed for $9.95 a month across the suite of Apple products? We will not track any of your data. We'll delete all of your profile data that we have in secret, and you will see no ads. I wonder how many people would pay for that. 5% of users? I know I would. I want to get ads out of my life, where I can if they're disruptive ads. And so, I pay for NBA League Pass. There was an extra option for $20 to take out ads and watch the feed in the arena. I pay for that. I like to watch them shoot cannons with T-shirts into the arena at MSG. It makes me feel like I'm there. It's kind of a cool feature. So a really great job on Apple's part to execute on this. And I really don't care if Facebook can't target as well. People on on their devices have the right to do what they want. If you want to use the Brave browser or DuckDuckGo's browser or ad blocker or cookie tracker blocker, that's your right. What you do on your device is your right. And if those services don't like it, they should just offer a paid version and charge for the top features and give people an option. And that's really what this is about. If you want to avoid being regulated, give people options and be honest with them and communicate it simply. That's what Apple does fantastically. That's what Facebook does horribly. Okay, our next story. China's Bytedance, the makers of TikTok, has killed the 996 work schedule, and it's mandating that employees only work between 10 a.m. and 7 p.m. Monday to Friday. 996, if you don't know, was what people in China in the tech industry were working. That means 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. 6 days a week, which, by the way, when I was coming up in New York, in the media world specifically, were considered the hours. If you wanted to work at Condé Nast or the New York Times or any magazine, you're expected to get in the morning, stay till late at night. You would eat at your desk. You would order dinner in most nights of the week, or you go out to dinner. You might come back to the office afterwards, and you were expected to come in on a Saturday or Sunday, do 4 or 5 hours, and get ahead for the next week. The world has changed, obviously, and in China specifically, Xi Jinping has got a different worldview, and he's de-emphasizing, these celebrity CEOs like Jack Ma. He hasn't left the country in a long time. I think it's 2 years or so. And he is charting a new path for China, which is certainly more insular. And part of that is really getting into the social fabric of how people live their lives. We saw their video game changes and how much people are allowed to use video games. And now we're seeing work hours come in. Bloomberg reviewed an internal document from Bytedance. According to the article, the document would make Bytedance, quote, one of the first tech companies in China to officially mandate shorter working hours. Some of Silicon Valley thought the 996 schedule would push China ahead of the U.S. Sequoia's Michael Moritz, the greatest venture capitalist of all time, according to many, and the statistics. So it's pretty close to true. It's definitely top 4 of all time, Mount Rushmore. He wrote a Financial Times article back in January 2018, which was vilified by some on the woke far left. Silicon Valley would be wise to follow China's lead because if we're going to be competitive, and there are entrepreneurs there who are working those kind of hours on very important projects, whether they're space projects or they're AI projects or healthcare related biotech projects, we do need to keep pace. And now we're seeing something different out of China. The Bloomberg article noted, under the new policy, employees can apply to work overtime no more than 3 hours on a weekday or 8 hours on a weekend. According to the document, they will receive extra compensation of up to 3 times their normal wage. For the overtime, permission to work overtime must be requested at least 1 day in advance. The article also notes that earlier this year, Bytedance, quote, canceled an alternating system where employees just take 1 day off per week every 2 weeks, which is crazy. 13 days of work every 14. That sounds like a recipe for disaster. On October 13th, Bloomberg reported the Workers' Lives Matter movement currently occurring in China. That's an interesting co-opting of Black Lives Matter. The movement included a spreadsheet where Chinese tech and finance employees shared, quote, what time they start and end their workday, as well as how many days per week they work. As of October 13th, the article had 4,000 entries, or I should say the spreadsheet had 4,000 entries. Right now, the spreadsheet links to a blank page, so it's probably deleted. And it appears that this grassroots effort is working across a lot of other big companies. The sheet called Working Time has been viewed more than 10 million times by some of the SCMP's reporting. What does SCMP stand for? SCMP.
South China Morning Post. Sorry.
Okay, yeah. According to the South China Morning Post reporting. So very interesting. Workers getting a say, and maybe, it's hard to know what's going on in China, and hard to know how this will play out. But definitely, China is charting a new course, and everybody who's an expert on China did not see the decapitation of their top tech CEOs or the limiting of video games, the limiting of working hours as what China's new strategy would be. In fact, everybody thought the opposite. They thought China would out hustle us, work harder, and maybe be more entrepreneurial, take more companies public. So this certainly is something very weird that's going on there. And so we'll keep an eye on it. But for me in America, I tell everybody in my companies, if you want to be at a startup company, a finance company, I think a fixed 50, a solid 60 hours a week is what will get you ahead in your career. Don't want people working 78 hours a week. At this point in my career, I'm successful enough. The companies are successful enough that people, I mean, there are some people who I'm sure work 78 hours a week who just love it and are obsessed with their work and are super go-getters, but it is a recipe for burnout. And for me at this point in my career, I'm trying to get people to stick with me for 5 or 10 years and grow and build their careers. If you want to keep people for 5 or 10 years, especially when they're working from home and all this burnout culture, if people want to punch a clock, they're probably not going to, if they do 40 hours a week, I don't think you're going to move forward in your career. You're going to maybe fall behind. If you do a fixed 50 or a solid 60 is the way I phrase it. You put that extra 10, 20 hours a week in. Self-improving, that could be reading a book, that could be taking extra meetings, catching up on the weekends on some email for an hour or two while you drink your coffee. Those kind of things are what got me ahead in my career, and different strokes for different folks. If you don't want to move faster in your career than other people, totally get that. I wouldn't work at a startup. I'd work at a big company because at a startup that might make you an outcast if you're not keeping pace. Now, some people are super wildly efficient. I've seen people work 40 hours a week and do more than somebody doing 60 or 70 hours a week where they're just hanging out at the office. But that's over now. Work from home changes this whole game. So, work from home, people can just see when you report on what you did this week, or you talk about in the staff meeting what projects you're completing, and everything's written down. So you kind of see in people's weekly or daily reporting what they're getting done. So I think the performative nature at staying at the office all hours, which I do know some people did. I certainly did that in my early days. I would come in early and I wouldn't leave until my boss left. A lot of times I was there and it's like 6 or 7 o'clock. I know my boss is going to leave at 9, and I'd say, what do I do for the next 2 hours? What can I do? And I go find a book about Novell networking or Banyan Vines or document management. And I would just teach myself a new skill, but I would never, ever leave before my boss or my boss's boss. Now my boss would leave at exactly 5:01. They would literally be at the elevator 4:59, 5:01 to catch like the train to Long Island at 5:25. But I always looked at my boss's boss, who was Mike Savino, and I said, I'll leave when Mike Savino leaves. I'm not leaving until he leaves. And he would work till 8 or 9 o'clock. And then once in a while, he'd say, hey, what are you doing here, kid? And I'm like, I'm catching up on this. And I show him what I'm working. He goes, hey, you want to go get a bite to eat? We go around the corner of Manhattan and get a bite to eat. And that's how we started a lifelong friendship. And he mentored me, and my career made huge jumps because of that work ethic. So think it through if you're an entrepreneur. Okay. So questions, or should we do the meetup thing first?
Jason, can you do? Oh, go ahead, Rachel.
Nope, you can go. It's okay.
Can you do one handoff for me?
Sure.
At the end of the last story you just did.
Yep. 996.
So nope, the one before the 996.
Okay.
So what I'm thinking about doing is dropping tomorrow's show at midnight and using the 996 story at the top of tomorrow's show and doing 2 intros so we can knock out 2.
Okay. All right. So let's get to our interview. Can you put the name of the interview so I can do it like a little bit more?
Yeah. Sorry. I was just writing it.
Amy Yang.
Three, 2. Okay, let's get to my interview with Amy Yang of Better Brands, making that protein-based bagel she is going to solve for less carbs.
Perfect. And then at the end of
this one.
Yep, it's Kyle Samani from Multicoin. You talk about Bitcoin being irrelevant in a couple of years, the big bet on Solana, and
Samani, right?
Samani, yep, Kyle Samani.
3, 2. Okay, next up, my interview with 3, 2. Okay, next up, my interview with Kyle Samani of Multicoin Capital. They've made a fortune, probably one of the best bets in the history of investing with Solana. But we also talk about how he has absolutely no interest in Bitcoin and that it's irrelevant. Pretty hot take there. Stick with us. It's going to be a great interview. You're going to learn a lot.
Perfect. And I wrote you 2 intros for both of the shows, but we can do that at the end if you want.
Okay, let's do our meetup for Monday meetups. 3, 2. Okay, we're doing This Week in Startups meetups, and producer Rachel is running them. If you want to see all the information on our meetups, go to thisweekinstartups.com/meetups. And with me again today, Rachel reporting. How are you, Rachel?
Hi, I'm doing well. How about you?
I'm doing great. Every Monday, we try to talk about our meetups. The meetups are by founders, for founders. We're going to let some angel investors in as well. But we've had some great success. We started this program, I think, in September. It's now October, or maybe it's November. It just passed. Yeah, it's November 1st. Yeah. So I think we've been doing this for under 2 months. Which cities have completed Mission 1? And explain what Mission 1 was for meetups.
So the first meetup, there were 5 to 10 founders. And basically the whole thing about that was get comfortable. So 5 or 10 founders meet up. Everyone pays their own way. You have a meal, grab a drink, grab a coffee, really casual, no reservation needed. And the cities that have completed that are LA, New York City, London, Tokyo, Austin, Boston, and Chicago. And LA, New York City, and keep going.
That's 7 cities have already done their first mission.
Yes, 7 cities, wow. And 3 are on Meetup 2, London, New York City, and LA.
Great. So do we have any photos of those meetups? I asked everybody to take pictures so we can put them on the website.
And they are on the website. They look great.
So here we go. This is beautiful. Here's the website, everybody. So Meetup 1 was complete by Los Angeles, New York, London, and you have the photos up there. Fantastic. And so we tried to make it like we gamified this. And we said, you're going to do 3 missions. The first one is to just have a breakfast or a lunch with just a handful of founders. Can't buy a ticket to it. Everybody pays their own way, because one of the things we're trying to do is make this for founders, by founders, and keep it from becoming a sales event. You ever go to those events? They're like, oh, there's a startup event going. And like every 4 to 5 people you meet are trying to sell you something. And then one person's an actual founder. We wanted to do the opposite. 100% founders, at least for these first couple. So that's amazing. Great job, Rachel. And we're getting to know all these people, and they're on the Slack coordinating, yes. And they get to know each other. So that's a lot of fun. And are friendships being made, and people are starting to get to know each other?
I think so. And I think even if you're just attending the meetup, I would recommend joining the Slack, not just organizers, because I've noticed that sometimes people show up to the events and they can't find the founders that they're supposed to be meeting with. So I'd recommend everybody sign up for the Slack.
Sure.
It says that on our website, but I've noticed that is a step that some people have been skipping, and I'd hate for people to go all the way out there. I've had 2 people now reach out to me that have driven quite a ways to meet up.
And they missed it. So we got to be more specific about where and when. So when they say they're doing it at a bar, everybody should wear like an orange shirt or do name tags and just put twist. So they can make their own name tags and just put twist and the first name on it, and that'd be fine. So now, if you complete mission 1, we give you your own URL as well. So if I go to thisweekinstartups.com/
London is a good one to look at right now.
You have a London page up, and then the people who are actual founders, who are the founder coordinators, the founder organizers, I think we're calling them, they get to be on that page and link to their company and link to their social media. Is that what we're doing for them?
Yes. So I'm going to give them a little bit more range. I can show you as an example of what London looks like right now. This one has none of them have been given yet to the founders, but once they get access to these, I'm going to let them do what they want with them. Yeah. Great. And then I just added this little infographic that explains one of the tweets, and this is information on their next meetup.
What is that infographic? You made an infographic?
It's just a little one that, in case they want to send it, that was actually recommended from a founder in London. So John, shout out to you for having this idea, but he said it would be nice to have something just as an attachment to send to people.
Great.
And I included that in everybody's page.
So if they complete mission 1, they get their own Notion page at This Week in Startups / their city, and they get to edit it, put their own information on. So we'll trust them to edit their own page and be stewards of the brand. And so that's really the issue here we're trying to mitigate in real time, Rachel, is they're representing us to a certain extent. I mean, they obviously represent themselves, but as we've seen already, we've had a lot of people want to do this who have an ulterior motive. which is marketing, which is to get free advertising on This Week in Startups. This is not an end run to get advertising to reach the audience. This is for founders, by founders. If you're a lawyer, accountant, SaaS developer, salesperson, selling insurance, human resources, headhunter, all that great stuff, we appreciate you in the industry. But you don't get to organize the This Week in Startups event. You can buy ads on This Week in Startup, and maybe we'll have a sponsorship on Mission 4. Mission 2 is 25 to 50 person event and RSVP, but all founders still.
Mm-hmm.
So we're checking that you're a founder. How do we know if somebody's a founder or not when they RSVP for an event?
I will ask you for your LinkedIn and I will ask you for your startup's website. And if you don't have either one of those and you still are saying that you're a founder, I'll have to follow up via email to see if you have anything you can show me. And right now we are kind of focusing, if you're becoming an organizer, on people that are post-launch for their startup. So I'm sorry if your startup isn't launched yet. This would be most beneficial for founders meeting if you guys have already launched your startup.
Now, when we get to Mission 3, we're going to open it up a little wider. Founders will come free. We're going to also let angel investors go, and we're going to give bracelets. Green bracelet if you're an investor, confirmed investor from our network, and then the orange bracelet if you're a founder. And we're going to get those rubber bracelets made and send them, like the Live Strong bracelets for people, right?
Yes.
Perfect.
Exactly.
Any drama or issues at the events yet? Anybody
not at
upset?
all.
Nothing? Okay, good.
So for Chicago's, though, I felt bad. I saw some people from Chicago. Maria was on the live. So hi, Maria. But I saw that they had to actually leave their intended meetup place because only 2 people could sit at a table. They made an update to the location. So that's another reason to join the Slack. So if an update like that happens, and they leave, you guys better find them. They relocated, though, to a Starbucks close by, and it looks like it went well.
Perfect. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, so, obviously COVID, depending on the city you're in, we'll have different things. So go to thisweekinstartups/Slack. If we can get, my goal is I wanted to have 10 of these up and running this year. You've already done that, and it's only November 1st. So you're way ahead of schedule. Congratulations on that. And by next year, so September of next year, we'd like to have 100 chapters of This Week in Startups meetups. So we're at 10. We just need to 10x it. Actually, we have more than 10, right? We have like maybe another 10 that we're trying to collect founders for. So what are the cities that need founder organizers?
The cities that need founder organizers, Berlin is so close. Let me bring up a list because there's actually quite a few that only have 3 founders. And something that I would like to know for those is if you guys give me a company that isn't your own company, I still look you up on LinkedIn. So I saw a lot of people from St. Louis were giving me companies that they weren't founders of. So that's a little drama, I guess, happening on the RSVP side for the organizers.
Yeah, so sometimes you'll get the salespeople know this, like the people who are trying to sell into founders, they know how to play this game. So they say they're a founder or they'll put their founder's name in, they show up and some people will try to do this. And, for the people who are the founder organizers, you can just tell people like, hey, listen, this is just for founders by founders. Eventually, like by Mission 3, what we're going to do is we're going to let founders come for free, investors come for free. Anybody else can buy a ticket is my plan. Okay. And we're running the sign-up form, so we'll have a ticket price. People will buy a ticket, and we'll give that money to the local organizers to spend on the space or food or whatever they want. And so I could see this. I don't want it to be a business for people. I want them to do it as a labor of love because they want to meet other founders and support other founders. But if it did generate a little bit of income or revenue to underwrite it, that's not the end of the world. So we have a sales team here. If we do get to 100 cities, what we'll probably do is we'll ask Twilio or Amazon Web Services or whoever's got a, international footprint, LinkedIn or whatever, if they want to sponsor the 100 cities. And if they do, maybe we can send a little bit of money for food to each one or something. I don't know. I really don't care about the sponsorship stuff.
Awesome.
But I'm just putting it out there for down the road that sure, if a sponsor did show up and they wanted to buy everybody donuts or hamburgers or pizza, I don't mind that. But I just want to keep it from getting overtly commercial. So like TEDx seems to have done a good job with this by the organizers are the key, Rachel. So if we have the right organizers in it for the right reason, then everything should flow perfectly. And then we're collecting all the emails. So we're not having people spam because that's the other thing that happens at these events. You have a bunch of founder organizers, and then some salesperson gets the list and they start sharing with all their friends and everybody starts getting spammed. And then people who are founders put Jason plus twist at calacanis.com, and they have that little thing where you put the plus in your Gmail account so you know you signed up for each service specifically. And they're like, look, I caught this person spamming. You're selling the list. You're breaking can spam. And it's like, oh, that's the shit I want to avoid whenever possible. But really excited. Yeah.
Yeah. With the amount of people that are signing up that are actually founders and not salespeople, I think that'll be hopefully we'll be able to keep that under wraps. We haven't gotten that many salespeople coming in. We have gotten, though, you mentioned lawyers. We've gotten a lot of lawyers. But Berlin, Portland, and Seattle are the next three, along with St. Louis. So those 4 places, if there's just one more person that signs up for those cities, they can start planning.
So we should put up the sign up form. This event is only for founders. Mm-hmm. If you are a service provider, and then put in parentheses, lawyer, accountant, headhunter, we will be having a larger event that you can be invited to sign up here for our announcement list. So every city should have an announcement list, and then also a sign up form for specific events. So I know there's a lot of work. So we have to figure out how to just build these lists and manage them. So start thinking about, if we had 100 lists, what service would we use to manage it? Do we have a group sign up list, or where people pick what cities they're interested in on Typeform or something?
Yes, it is there. It's an interest form. And so far there are quite a few cities down, but most of the people that wrote in the interest form, there are no cities in the interest form that don't also have organizers, if that makes sense. So there's not any stray cities yet.
I would actually put the stray cities in. So I'd put all cities, like if there's going to be 100 cities, I would put which cities and, which regions are you interested in? Asia, North America, South America, Europe, and then put the cities under them. This way people can start, signing up for the cities we don't have. And then we'll email them. But great job, Rachel. This is really exciting. I think it's, I want to do it for the fans of the show and for founders. So it's great. And then who's going to have the first mission 2?
Who's going to have the first mission 2? That is a great question. Let me go back to the website. If you guys want, by the way, thisweekinstartups.com/meetups, if everybody is looking along. I believe the next website is going to be London, but I'm going to have to check.
Yeah, Meetup 2, November 11th. Yeah. New York City, Meetup 2, November 9th. LA, Meetup 2, November 4th. So, okay. And those are occurring at restaurants, bars, cafes, or like co-working spaces. Do you know?
Some of the founders have offices. So for example, London, that startup has its own office. New York City has been doing a great job on finding reservations for places. So it really depends on the city and the availability. Most places, I think, doing restaurants do have to make reservations beforehand. So that's something to note to some people. For example, like San Francisco, that sign-up sheet is limited. So if you don't sign up within the first 15 people, you can't go because it's a reservation. They won't have a seat for you. So these are a little time sensitive for people wondering.
Yeah. And then eventually, just as a general rule of thumb, pick a dive bar or a pizza joint, someplace that's large, a beer hall comes to mind, a barbecue joint. Mm-hmm. You don't got to go fancy here. No private rooms. Let's keep this real, keep it affordable, place that's got, pictures where you can, I always did Mexican, pizza, burger joints. Those places, you could have a large group of people. You could order 3 pies for $20 each. You could order a couple of pitchers of beer or, sangria. That's the vibe we're going for. We're not trying to be fancy here. This isn't like Chamath and Saks ordering, $5,000 bottles of wine. Like I want a $500 bill split between 20 people. Everybody puts in $25. You're good. Yeah. That's
good
kind
thing
of
you said that. London's at beer. New York City is at Beer Authority, which is kind of cool. And I know Austin actually did theirs also at like a beer.
Wait, did Nick and producer Nick and producer Justin go to the New York one?
I don't think so.
That's not cool. Oh, you got to go to Meetup too, boys.
The first one, isn't there only supposed to be like 8 people?
All right, listen, I don't want to hear any excuses.
Also, I'm not a founder. So
I know you're a producer of the show. Go and take some pictures and meet the audience. It's a great idea. You guys got to go to the next one for sure. And then I am going to zoom in to some meetups. So what you should do is give me the founder's phone number, Rachel, when it's occurring, and SMS me, and I will maybe FaceTime with them. Just randomly. We don't have to record it or anything. And then for mission 3, we will have an AV set up and do it officially. But I could just, FaceTime in and just say hi to everybody. But I'm really excited about this. Awesome. All right. We'll make it a priority. All right. onto the show. Great job. All right, everybody. I think that's enough for today. So
Can you do? So we were thinking about putting the meetup segment at the end of the interview.
Sure.
Would you want to do that? What do you think? What do you think is better, at the tail end of news before the interview, or
tail
at
end
the
of news would be better?
Tail end of news is better. All right, then you're good.
Yeah.
I have two intros for you. You can either do questions first or intros.
Let me do the intros then questions.
Can I just request a quick intro into that segment? Just we got Rachel.
3, 2. Okay, next up, producer Rachel is going to talk to us about this week in startup meetups occurring in cities around the world. Welcome to the program, producer Rachel.
Good.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. Two
intro
intros.
Number 1, 3, 2. Okay, today on the program, we have Amy Yang. She's from a company, a startup called Better Brand. They are making low-carb versions of high-carb foods that we all love. The first one, the bagel. I saw this trending on Twitter. I ordered some of the bagels, and I was like, wow, these bagels aren't bad. Now, listen, I'm a bagel snob. They're not Brooklyn bagels yet. And we have a big debate about what percentage is she to a Brooklyn bagel. Well, you'll find out in the episode where I put it on a very specific. I might have hurt her feelings a little bit. I'll be totally honest. I kind of felt bad during the interview. She thought I gave it a low rating. I thought it was being very generous compared to a Brooklyn bagel. But anyway, first up, we're going to talk about a Financial Times story that estimates Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, and YouTube will lose about $10 billion in revenue in half of 2021 due to Apple's new privacy changes. It's a very big deal. It's a very intricate story. And of course, we're going to talk about meetups because it's Meetup Monday. Stick with us. Or is that
good?
That was for this one, right?
Yep.
Okay, good. Okay, next up, Kyle Samani. 3, 2. All right, we got a great show for you today. Kyle Samani from Multicoin Capital is on the program. They made a massive bet on a crypto project called Solana, and that has become one of the greatest investments in the history, at least at this point. I don't know if they're liquid on it, in the history of all investing in the world, because they bought Solana, which has now become an Ethereum contemporary. They bought Solana, which has now become an Ethereum. They bought Solana, which has now become an Ethereum competitor, coexister. And this guy has got really strong feelings about Bitcoin and a bunch of other crypto projects. He's a very honest guest who's done incredible in crypto investing. We really double click on a lot of important issues. You're going to love this as an interview. And he's got strong opinions. But first, we're going to talk about the end of 996 at Bytedance, the makers of TikTok. As you know, 996 is the moniker for 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., 6 days a week. Basically, the working style at Chinese tech and finance companies, which was modeled after how we used to work in the 70s, 80s, and 90s here in America, but we kind of deprecated that a bit. Well, now Bytedance has mandated that employees only work from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m., Monday through Friday, no more weekend work. They have to ask for permission to do overtime. Some weird stuff going on in China, and we're going to drill down, double click, and go deep on it. Stick with us.
Good.
Okay. High energy intros is what I'm going for. And I'm trying to riff, but good job with these. You can even tighten these up. A little bit less words is even better because I'm going to riff in my own voice. Just give me the facts. Okay. All right, notey questions. Let's do a couple of Q&As, and let's see where we're at. You have questions for me? You picked them, team? How many people do we have in the live stream on YouTube, and how many votes up do we have?
140 upvotes, upvotes, 206 viewers.
You see that? It's literally the algorithm goes every time you do 10 more thumbs up. So everybody smash the thumbs up. If we get 10 more thumbs up, we probably get another 20 listeners. It's crazy.
How many thumbs down do you think we have? Just a guess.
2. There's always somebody. There's always somebody. Somebody always.
I think it's great.
It's somebody I fired or didn't invest in their company or something, or I said something on a podcast.
Probably Palmer Lucky.
I would love to. I don't even know what I said about Palmer. He's so sensitive.
Now listen, I'm team Palmer Lucky. I don't want him sending a drone to my house. I'm team Palmer.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So give me a question here. Let's go.
Hey, Jason, would you invest in a startup that is innovating in the metaverse?
Okay, hold on. Did you say who it's from and put it on the screen? Okay, here we go. All right. So our first question, would you invest in a startup that's innovating in the metaverse? So yes, of course I would. I think that there's a 20% chance, I would put it at, that VR and AR become a very significant, big part of our lives in the future. VR, I'm not so sure about. I think motion sickness, wearing the thing, blocking out the real world, it's going to work for some category of products really well, like educational or maybe casual gaming. And, we heard about golf works really well, maybe snowboarding, Beat Saber. There's like some physical activity. So I think education and working out and those kind of activities, quite fun. We'll see where it expands to. I think AR could become, like smartphones, an 80 or 90% adoption curve where people put on AR glasses in the real world. And when you look at a restaurant, if Yelp is your default or Zagat or Google Local or whoever's glasses you're using, Apple, it would tell you the hours of operation. This place closes in 21 minutes. It might tell you the wait time. It might tell you the specials. You're walking down the street, and if somebody is opted in to being in your network and is a friend of a friend, it might say right above their head, good friends with your friend Evan. And you could stop the person. You say, hey, and they see on yours, good friends with Evan. And it does like a little halo, like you both know somebody, right? Pretty interesting. Let's say there's a version of Tinder or Bumble with AR glasses, and you go to an event and it says, hey, this person's into, this person is looking for a long-term relationship. This person is not looking for a long-term relationship. This person likes long walks on the beach and yoga. And this person likes, indie music and Kurosawa films, whatever it is. There's going to be some interesting AR applications that I think if you don't use them, you're going to be left out of society. Much like not having a phone today means you're left out of a lot of functions in society. Think about it. 15 years ago, you could go to a restaurant and not have to have a smartphone. Today, if you go to a restaurant post-pandemic, no smartphone, or in the endemic phase of the pandemic, you go take out your smartphone to pay and order. I mean, I've been to some restaurants where, they're just like, that's the only way you can order. Or you're driving and you need a map. Like, let's say your car doesn't have navigation. It's an old car. You used to have to pull over and ask at a gas station for directions and write them down. Remember those days? You probably don't. If you're watching the show, half of you don't remember those days. But you used to stop and ask for directions. Or when you were on a road trip, you would get to a gas station, and in the front of the gas station, they would have the maps. And if you were going east, west, north, or south, they would have a row of maps for people going north, a row of maps for people going south, and you'd buy that. Or before you went, you would go to a bookstore and there was a map section, and you would buy the maps of the South, Alabama, Florida, wherever you're going. And when you moved to LA, there was a specific book that everybody would buy, and they would be on the floor boards of everybody's car in LA had those, because LA was driving culture, right? So I think that's what AR is going to be in 20 years, where if you don't have AR glasses, you're missing like half of society. Just like people who, you're on your phone and you want to go to the movies, how are you going to look up movie times? You're going to go, you can't, I don't know, can you still call on the phone and get movie times? That's how we did it in the 80s. There were like, my parents would look in the newspaper at movie times. I remember in 1980s, if we're going to go see Raiders of the Lost Ark or, Superman, my dad would open up the newspaper. Then my dad would say, hey, can you call on the phone? So in the late 80s, you'd call on the phone, movie phone, you get the times. Then in the 90s, you would call on the phone and buy a ticket on movie phone. That took 10 minutes, but it was a lot better than going down and buying the ticket. So what you would do in the 80s and 90s is, if there was a hot movie like Raiders of the Lost Ark, you would go on a Friday to buy tickets for Saturday or Sunday. You go on Thursday, and that's how you bought tickets. And literally, if you wanted to go to a sporting game or Bruce Springsteen was playing, when Bruce or Billy Joel would play, we would go to a Ticketmaster, which would be at a record store. So there were record stores to buy the records, and in the back, they'd have a Ticketmaster with a little computer. And you would see at 5 a.m, 100 people lined up to get in there for Bruce tickets. They would let us in at exactly 8 a.m. The person behind the counter would run 10 sets of tickets, give them to a scalper, Brooklyn style. And then they would let people in at 8:05, and you would just try to get tickets. And the first person might get second row, fifth row, and then the person in the end would get like the blues. So yeah, I would definitely invest in AR specifically. The problem is today, those AR glasses aren't even out except for the HoloLens. And those are thousands of dollars and for very specific applications. So you have to be very careful investing in companies for a platform that does not yet exist. VR exists. Some of those companies are now surviving, but the VR companies that got invested in 5 to 10 years ago when Oculus was first coming out, most of them went out of business. Now, most startups do go out of business, but a lot of them went out of business because they never made it to a point where you could make millions of dollars off of selling apps. And I think right now, there are some people like Beat Sabers and Rec Room that have 1 million users a month. If they have 100,000 of them paying, maybe they could start to hit break even, but it's still early days. So you want to be early enough that you can innovate and take market share, but you don't want to be so early that you run out of money before the platform arrives and users are ready to spend money. Great question. So those are the things I would take into account. Let's take another question. I think that's a good question. By the way, if we don't use these questions, put them up as just clips on YouTube, okay?
Yep.
Producer Nick, okay. All right, next question. Or is it better for Rachel to read them to me or you guys to read them to me, you think, Nick? Or would you like me to read them?
I don't know if I have strong feelings either way, but we could try. Might as well.
All right, Rachel, you read this one to me. You don't have to come on camera. You can just read it. Okay, let's take another question, Rachel.
What's a unique insight about food and or robotics you learned from your investment in CafeX?
Oh, wow. Learned a lot. Okay. Let's talk about hardware. When you're building a hardware company, whether it's Density, which does people counting, or CafeX, or we had a smoke detector company, and we had a webcam company, like a drop cam competitor. In all 4 of those cases, I learned that hardware is hard because when you make a hardware company, you have to buy 10,000 units, you have to fabricate them, you have to ship them, all of that. And you have to get people to pay for the hardware. And then you still have to build all the software. So a software company builds software. And a hardware company builds software and hardware. Plus they have to distribute them. Now you look at CafeX. They have to build the hardware. They got to build the software. They also have to manage locations and they have to manage the maintenance of those machines. In other words, the consumer-facing stuff. So when they did their locations, it was great. It was working, fantastic, but you basically are running 3 startups: a retail operation, a hardware operation, and a software operation. That's hard. So you're basically running Sweetgreens, you're running Fitbit or Apple Watches, and you're running a software company like Slack. Sounds hard, right? It is. And then eventually where CafeX wound up was, the airport locations were fantastic. 1 hour of maintenance, and they had to get through a lot of local regulations. Like one county might be fine with milk being in a vending machine. Another county might say no milk in vending machines because there were, health concerns about it. Well, in a modern robotic one, you don't have to worry about fresh milk being in it. It's refrigerated. We have sensors. But in an old coffee machine, you can only do powdered, right? So there were some antiquated regulations. You add that to it. Turns out they crushed it inside of SFO. I won't say the numbers. It's up to Henry to share them, but that is a really good business. But operating is hard. So they've moved to, hey, if you want to buy the machine for, I think, $250K and then pay a maintenance fee or a service fee of $2,000 a month, you can buy the machines and put them anywhere you want. And now they've had a half dozen people do that. So they took out, we're going to be the retail operator. You go, put them in, we'll sell them to you. Hardware as a service, HaaS. SaaS, this is HaaS, hardware as a service. Density did the same thing. Density makes sensors that will tell you how many people are in a restaurant or a cafe. What they realized was, the hardware business stinks, and those customers, let's say cafes, do they really get a ton of value from this? Not as much value as an enterprise company. So imagine you're some giant company with a campus like NYU or Stanford, or your Microsoft or Google or Facebook or LinkedIn, somebody who's got a giant campus. Now you've got 1 million square feet, hundreds of thousands of square feet. You don't know how your space is being used. You know how people in planning figure that out? They send somebody out there with a clipper and they count people, or they set up a webcam and they count everybody on the webcam. Now imagine if I could show you in real time and you play a button and you see the floor plan of the 50th floor, the 49th floor, and the 48th floor of your most expensive office space in Manhattan looking out of Central Park, and you can see the capacity of all the spaces and how utilized the spaces are. And now you find out your boardroom is being used by one person on average, or 1.2 people. You're like, well, that's a 12-person boardroom that's costing us $400,000 a year. And it's being used as a phone booth. So then you get 3 phone booths and you find out that they're used 80% of the time. And those are costing you $15,000 a year each. Oh my God, what a better use of space. And then, the legal department is saying we need this much space, and the sales department is saying we need this much space. But the IT department is like actually using their space, and the lawyers and the salespeople are never there. So now you can have the operations people, because of density, are able to say, you know what? And it's density.io. We have hardware that we pay for that is not cameras, so it doesn't invade anybody's privacy, and we know exactly the utilization of the entire space. So we're going to consolidate the New York operation from 3 floors down to 2. We're going to put 6 more phone booths in because those are what we need. And we're going to take that 12-person boardroom that never gets used, and we're going to put 2 dividers in it, and we're going to make it into 3 4-person breakout rooms. And then if people need to, we'll take the dividers out for the 3 times a year we have a board meeting in that boardroom. Brilliant stuff like that. And if you pay for it as a service, just a monthly fee, and you abstract the hardware cost into that, it makes it much more accessible. And you found your ideal customer profile. So that's what hardware companies really have to do. They have to figure out a way to turn it into a subscription. And it's really interesting as a business. You have to get out of certain businesses and find your ideal customer profile. So if opening up a bunch of locations in San Francisco and they get vandalized is a terrible idea, but having airports or campuses is a great idea. Awesome. So, to the founders of CafeX, Henry and Andrew at Density and their teams, my Lord, you have my respect, because hardware is hard. But if you do figure it out, hardware plus software in a subscription package, it's super powerful. I think it's super powerful. And I think actually Density's had massive success. Obviously, Henry and CafeX took a bad beat because of the pandemic. But coming out of the pandemic, there's no workers and nobody wants to be a barista, and people want 24-hour service, and maybe people don't want people touching their food as much or as much contact with other humans. Contactless is now something that consumers want. And let's face it, people don't want to work in those jobs. So the idea when CafeX came out was like, oh my God, you're taking away barista jobs. And now it's like, nobody wants those jobs. We all admit nobody wants those jobs. Nobody wants to be a driver anymore. So self-driving. Nobody wants to work in a fields, picking strawberries. So Root AI is picking strawberries with robots. I think we're going to see the robots and hardware play a bigger role, and the robots are leaving the factories. And that really is the trend, and the bet we made on CafeX was robots have changed how factories work. Robots have changed how factories work. Now what happens when the robots leave the factory? That was my basic premise. And I looked at everything. The dishwashing bot, the French fry one, they're all out there. And I think post-pandemic, with this crisis of we're not letting immigrants into the country who would take these jobs. So we're anti-immigrant, and we got 10 million jobs, and Americans don't want to take those jobs. And those jobs, if they cost $35 an hour or $25 an hour for a dishwasher, which is what they were getting paid in San Francisco. I know that sounds crazy. People always email me, and when I tell them what people get paid in San Francisco, they're like, that's crazy. I'm like, now try buying a house in San Francisco. You really get the definition of crazy. Somebody I know is paying $35 an hour for a dishwasher in San Francisco. If you're paying $35 an hour and it's a 10-hour shift and it's $350, and you've got, 2 shifts a day, $700 a day, and you're open 300 days a year, you start to figure out you're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars a year on the dishwasher function at your restaurant. Yeah, you might switch to a robot. You might, right? You might start thinking, okay, now it's time to do a robot. When you can get people to work for $10 an hour as a dishwasher or to make French fries, you don't think about it. You're like, I can get people. People need the jobs. I'll just hire people for $10 an hour. And so that's a little bit more than you asked for, but I think it's going to be very interesting when the robots leave the factories. And it's going to be great for society because humans always find other work. And so the idea that humans are not going to create more jobs is silly. Like, we're going to always create more jobs. There's the creator economy. People are getting paid to make podcasts that are super niche. They're getting paid to tweet. They're getting paid to write email newsletters on any number of subjects. Patreon. You just look at the world of creativity on YouTube and people making a living there. Twitch, people are getting, we're talking about tens of thousands of people on Twitch are getting paid to play video games. If I told you, if you told me in the 80s, imagine getting paid to play video games, I would have been like, a video game tester? I actually thought about that as a career. The 2 jobs I really wanted when I was in my teens, I wanted to be Roger Ebert. I wanted to get paid to watch movies and then write about them because something clicked in me and said, wait a second, I love going to the movies. And that guy's getting paid. It was like one of my earliest observations in entrepreneurship was that Siskel and Ebert were getting paid to watch movies. And I love going to movies and I was paying to watch them. It was like, when that lit up in my brain, I was like, whoa. And then somebody told me about video game testing. And I was like, wait a second. You go to work and play video games? I'm going to work and then going home to play video games? I'd like to have that job. All right. Great question. All right. I'll take one more question. All right, Rachel, give us another question. And say who it's from. Okay, Rachel, give us another question.
This question is from Bob Gee. What advice would you give interns starting out? How can they make the most of the opportunity in big companies?
Fantastic. Okay. We don't do internships anymore, really. I mean, we pay people to do summer work or something like that. So it's kind of an internship, but I find the unpaid internship is like just more trouble than it's worth in America because you'll get sued. And we've seen tons of lawsuits for that. And if somebody's there for 8-10 weeks, they're just a drag on somebody who's highly productive. So then somebody in the company gets stuck with managing the interns and they leave. By the time they learn the skill, they're out the door. So interns are just really a difficult thing for companies to contend with. I think the way you should think about it is as an intern, to make connections, to work hard, to prove that you can listen and collaborate, that you can communicate, that you do what you're going to say you're going to do. Basically, it's a way for you on a performative basis to show that you are a great person to have as an employee. So what I would recommend is you get in an hour early, stay an hour late. You ask people really great questions. You ask them for advice. You do extra work on the weekend. So if they say, hey, do you know how to do copywriting? You say, no, but I'll do some research on that for sure. Do you have any places you can point me to? Or even better than that, because now you're putting the onus on them, is you just type into YouTube, how to be a great copywriter. You go on Amazon, you buy books. So prove you're a go-getter. Prove you go above and beyond. So if the boss says, hey, can you do some copywriting for us or write a press release? You say, and they say, have you done that? You say, no, I haven't, but I can look online for it. If I had somebody who did that, I'd be like, oh, this is the type of person I want. So you're trying to just prove that you are a go-getter, that you're a rugged individualist who can find answers on their own, and that you do what you say you're going to do. In other words, you're going to build that credibility. You just want to show you're a model employee. So again, short list, you're fiercely independent, you're able to learn new skills, you're hardworking, you get in early, you stay late, you ask good questions, you communicate crisply, you don't waste people's time, you don't say stupid stuff like, I've never done that before. Or, I mean, if they ask you if you've ever done it before, you should answer honestly. But this idea of like, nobody told me, like I find like a lot of the interns are kind of like paralyzed. They don't know how to work in a work environment. Being a go-getter. Hey, I got that job done. Is there anything else I can do to be helpful? Show you can be maximum helpful. Prove that you can be of maximum value. And if you're not, then what's the point of you even being there? It's hard to be valuable to a company. And that's what you should be. You should jump on it. Like if you look at producer Rachel here, she's doing the meetups. She's proving that she can be valuable in something I'm sure she's never done before. And that's like just a small example, but prove that you can be of service and that you can learn and you can get shit done. GSD. Good question. Shall we take one more? Did we hit 100 votes up?
Yeah.
How many thumbs up did we get?
1 second. It's 167.
What? Oh, that's like 6 questions. Okay, let me give you one more question. I think I can do one more.
Let me find a good one.
Okay.
I like that. I like that one.
I'll take those. I like the weird ones.
Jason, this is from Michael Tompkins.
Okay.
Jason, I need a wedding gift idea. What's hot right now?
That's interesting. Well, I would need to know the age of the person. Yeah.
Wrong answer. This should be like chapter 5 of Angel. Cash. Period.
Well, okay.
Nick, you know, at your wedding, I told my wife what I wanted to get you. She's like, nope, give him money.
All right, 3, 2. All right, listen. There's a lot of different things you can get people. I always go with cash money. And I always try to give a big, thick envelope of cash, not even a check. Literally went to a wedding recently and asked my wife to take out a very large amount of money in hundies, crisp, clean hundies, put it in an envelope. I like, I'm old school, like in Goodfellas. I like to have that fat envelope. And I like the idea that somebody opens it up and they get a nice big stack of hundies. So as many hundies as you can fit. If you're like a 5 hundy person, if you're a 10 hundy, a couple dime skis, whatever you can afford. People do like experiences. And so I also do like the idea of getting them plane tickets if they're into experiences or something like that, or a hotel gift card that they can use. Getting them something from a registry, I find kind of lame. I just never liked that. I find it kind of what's the word? Gauche? Is that the word for like tacky? I just don't like the idea of like going through somebody's list from Bed Bath and Beyond or wherever, and I'm going to get them the bread maker or the ice cream maker or like the spatulas, and then like I start getting OCD about like, well, the top 5 items have been bought already, and I just give cash money or a gift card. That's also nice too. Like, so you can get an Amazon gift card. I like doing that. I give people Amazon gift cards all the time. In fact, I would get a lot of miles for my different programs. So you can cash them in for gift cards. And so about around the holidays, I would just cash them in and get 10, 25, 50, and $100 gift cards. And I'd have a stack of these. Like I'm talking like $5,000 worth. And then, somebody who works at the house, gardeners or, mailmen, or mail delivery person, the sanitation team who pick up our garbage, just anybody who UPS driver, FedEx driver, we have like regular drivers who come by. I just say, hey, thanks so much. And I just give them a $25 or $50 gift card. And man, that is amazing. And then also with my daughters, there's another hack. Whenever those people come, like when the garbage sanitation truck comes to pick up our garbage, my daughters would love to watch it because it's, watch the machine pick up the thing. I would have them grab a couple of sodas. They would go outside with a couple of sodas, and my 3 daughters would be out there, and garbage guy would come up. He's really nice, and they'd say, "Can we offer you a soda or two?" And they would offer it. And I would just try to teach my daughters some respect for people who are working every day and making our lives easier, right? And so always give big tips, and always giving a soda, or an iced tea or a bottle of water or salsa or something and I try to do nice ones, like be nice to the people who are working and, working class heroes. I was part of that group, and I always just give big tips. And I think the same goes for weddings. Like people are starting their life, give them a nice thick envelope, cash, money, the best. That was a good punch up, Nick, because that's what I do. I give cash.
Yeah. So just anecdotally, as someone who got married recently.
Oh, you got married?
Yeah.
How's the wedding?
You heard. I don't know. It was a good time.
I loved your wedding.
Fun.
Your wedding was absolutely fantastic. Outdoors, the food was fucking fantastic. The outdoor food was so good.
River Cafe.
Thought that. What was it?
River Cafe is the owner of the River Cafe started.
Oh, is that right?
At Liberty Warehouse. Yeah, that's why the food's so bomb.
I mean, I was looking at that. I was like, this is going to be mad expensive per person. But you know what I thought? I thought the food stations outside, because I was having the Peking duck. I had like 5 of them. So good. I don't know if you got the Peking duck for me. I don't know if that was because that's my favorite dish when you went to the tasting, but it was so good. I thought that we were just going to eat outside and then have like the dessert inside. We got inside and then they started the food over again.
Yeah.
It was too much food.
I know.
But what a venue. What's the name of the venue again?
Liberty Warehouse.
In Red Hook, Liberty Warehouse. Now, you might get jacked on the way there, but if you make it to the Liberty
Warehouse, it there.
It is the end of a pier. It's a giant warehouse, and it looks out on the Statue of Liberty and gorgeous Hudson River, Verrazano Bridge on one side, downtown Manhattan, Brooklyn Bridge, huge outdoor deck. When I say huge, you could have 1,000 people out there. Then inside, giant cavernous, beautiful dance floor, fucking fantastic. That was a great wedding.
You want to do wedding advice real quick? I have some practical advice for people looking to get
wedding
married.
invite.
Advice.
Now, how many people, what percentage gave you, because it's a Brooklyn wedding, what percentage did envelopes, cash versus?
So this is very funny. It was probably 95% cash and checks. And
that's great.
a couple of people who were from the South or from the West gave like new bed sheets on our registry. And I didn't know that in other places, it's like you go to weddings and you just get like a bunch of stuff and not cash. I didn't, but I was like, oh, like I was like,
did they bring the presents physically or just order them on the registry?
No, on the registry. But I was like, why are we even doing a registry? Everybody's just going to give cash. She's like, no, people, like some people give gifts, and probably like, I don't know, there's like 210 people there, I think, and probably 10 people gave gifts, which are all really nice. By the way, shout out Zozola. You can actually if you don't like the
Zola's
gift,
a wedding invite
website,
registry or something?
where you put your registry on and everything. But if you don't like the gift that they got you, which I don't even know why it was on our registry in the first place, but whatever.
You could send the person back a thumbs down emoji?
No, you can just take the dollar amount and put it towards something that you want. So I was like, oh, it's like a gift card. This is great. Yeah.
Ooh, yum, yum.
I think kind of disrespectful to the person that got you the thing, but whatever.
Well, the problem with here's the problem with the thing. Now you got to remember who got you what, and you got to send them a thank you. And then if they come to your house and the bread cooker's not there, you don't use it. Now you got to talk about the item. Nonsense.
Yeah.
It's all nonsense.
Anyway, practical advice for anyone who's getting married soon or thinks they're going to be looking at venues soon. Go get married at somewhere where the place's reputation is staked on your wedding, right? For instance, and what by that I mean a country club, right? A country club's first priority are the members of the country club.
Of course.
The golfers, the people that are at the pool.
Right.
They are a place that has a business, and then on the side they also do weddings.
Right. So if you look at the Yelp reviews, they're not wedding reviews, they're the golf course.
Exactly. Now that doesn't mean the country club wedding can't be beautiful, but this Liberty Warehouse was so amazing because all they do is weddings. That's 100% of their revenue.
Dialed in.
You know, Tuesday to Wednesdays they do like corporate events for Goldman Sachs and shit, but for the most part it's like, this is what we do. This is how we make our money. And if you have a bad time, so I don't know if there were like people following us around, giving us things. Amazing. There was like 4 people following me. Like, do you need this? I'm like,
they were on it.
It
was also perfect weather.
Yeah, we got really lucky.
Perfect sunset.
We got really lucky.
Your squad, like your crew, it's a sick fun crew. You got a sick crew.
Yeah.
They all were having fun. You did the dance in.
Yeah.
Everybody danced in as they, invited them in. Everybody did their different moves. Dance party was great. DJ was great.
Yeah.
The after party was tight. I like the after party. Your crew was lit at the after party.
Did you make it to the after party?
I made it to. No, I just went to the first after party. Okay. I'm like an old guy, but your crew is they're big fans of J-Cal and All In.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's got to be annoying. That's got to be super annoying when they talk to you about your uncle.
Well, no, it's funny. All my San Francisco friends, they get a huge house in Tahoe every year. And so you might see, shout out my boy Zach, on a lot of your tweets, he just will comment and be like, Jake, how we shredding Palisades? It used to be Squad. Now it's Palisades.
Yeah.
You can't say Squad anymore. That's so if you ever see that guy saying, hey, we shredding K2 this year, that's Zach. And so we were talking to him at my wedding.
I like your squad. They're very respectful, very cool, fun. It was just a great wedding. All the different families. I mean, I'm not the Turchies on the Italian side a little out of control.
Maniacs. Yeah.
They just get a little. I was like next to a Turchie table. Not your mom, who's super chill, but there was a lot of Turchie next to me, and they're hooting and hollering and arguing and fighting and yelling.
There was no fighting.
Maybe at that table. Loud.
They're very loud. Yeah.
Brooklyn Italians.
They are
next to a bunch of Irish. I mean, the Irish are just busy drinking beer. The Italians are just, God. But that was a great one.
Having one side Italian and one side Irish, because this might be getting a little bit too much into family history, but the Irish side is hilarious because there are everybody talks all the time, but nobody ever talks about like problems. There's never any, or at least you never see any fighting in public.
Oh, no.
On the Italian side, it's like,
it's all on the table.
Oh my God. It's like on site.
In detail. You have your own CNBC of problems.
Yeah.
They literally
and then there's like a post-game press conference. Like my mom will be calling her sister about the other thing.
What happened? It's like that with the Korean side of my family.
But on the Irish side, you're like, oh yeah, they had a fight 6 years ago. nobody knows. And
You
you're
don't.
like,
Oh yeah, that
yeah.
was yes, and they still haven't talked about it. Right?
yeah.
What you do on the Irish side is you're like, there's a problem. Okay, let's not talk about it. Let's get a 12-pack and we'll just have a couple beers and we'll forget about it. You just like, yeah, forget about it. We'll move on. Everybody just moves on. So envelope wise, how did your Uncle J Cal come in? Did I come in heavy?
You did a good job. Yeah, you did a good job.
Anybody come in heavier?
Individually,
anybody come in heavier?
No, nobody came in heavier. I mean, I hope not.
All right, because I like to come heavy.
You came heavy, yeah.
For my nephew.
No, it was amazing.
Always my favorite nephew was Nick.
I feel
Nick was always my favorite nephew.
This is weird. We should get out of
here.
Well,
no, I always take you to Knicks games, right? Did you ever sit courtside at a Knicks game?
One time, yeah.
One time. How'd you wind up there?
I was with you.
Yeah, that's right. Uncle J Cal.
Yeah.
That was a peak moment for me and Josh, your dad.
Yeah.
For us to sit courtside at a Knicks game
was amazing.
Like a personal life victory for Josh and I.
I'll never forget. It was Sunday matinee, Anthony Davis's rookie season.
Yep.
And I think it was the year after the Knicks were awesome, but they were still good the next year. Mm-hmm. And maybe it was the year that they won like 58 games with Melo. And if anyone has ever wants to know what it's like to go to a sporting event with Jason,
for a Knicks game specifically, you might get kicked out.
My God, it is complete chaos. It's chaos.
I had to tone it down because I got 2 red cards in the last 2 years at the Warriors.
I thought actually that you were fucking with me when we were, because I thought you were like trying to embarrass me. And then my dad's like, no, he just is that crazy. Like,
loses his mind at Knicks games.
Screaming the
yelling
whole
at refs.
And there was like a Pelicans fan near us. You're like, you're a Pelicans fan. Oh no, I think they were still the Hornets actually. Like, you're a Hornets fan. Nah, they should go to Seattle. What a joke of a franchise. You're a loser. You're screaming at this guy. I'm like, no.
The worst instance of that was like in the 90s. NBA games at the Garden were crazy. So I'm sitting in the 3rd row next to Phoebe Cates. And her husband was that famous English actor. Somebody can Google it for me.
No idea who that is.
Who is Phoebe Cates? Was from Fast Times at Ridgemont High. She was like the it girl when I was growing up. So she was always at the Garden. She was married to that famous actor. Somebody can put it in the chat. And we're playing Charlotte. And Derek Coleman is on their team. And he got very large. And Knick fans are unique in their chants or whatever. And so they were riding him, Kevin Kline. So it's Kevin Kline, Phoebe Cates, and like 2 people, then me. And Phoebe Cates is a crazy Knick fan. So we're laughing and yelling and screaming. And, Kevin Kline's not, and this is like J Cal, in the 90s. So Phoebe Cates and I are vibing. And she's got this grandpa husband. Phoebe? Let's shout out Phoebe Cates. And so we're laughing it up and we're giving them a hard time. And people are just really being gnarly towards Derek Coleman. And I said, Derek, what happened to your game? What happened to your game? You left it in a box of Krispy Kremes. And the whole team is like, whoa, because I made a fat joke. This is when you could make fat jokes.
Yeah.
I kid you not. And I was with Mike Sofino, so he can confirm this. Derek Coleman takes a glass of water, turns around, and throws it at me. I, with my ninja skills, turn sideways, and it just hits my shoulder and wipes out a woman with an Italian couple. This woman, it could have been mafiosos. She gets wiped out in her face, makeup, everything, water drenched. And the husband gets up, what the? And security comes. It's the last 10 seconds of the game. And Derek Coleman just walks off the court because they were ending. And it was
no
like a blowout.
No.
He's out. And security comes, game ends, everybody leaves. The next day in the ESPN story, it says in the postscript to the story of the blowout, a belligerent fan, Derek Coleman, threw water at a belligerent fan in the stands. And that was like, belligerent fan became my nickname. So 2 other stories of J Cal behaving badly at games. Before I knew David Lee, Draymond, Bogut, etc., I'm at the Warriors game versus the Knicks. And Steve Kerr gets up 30 points on the Knicks. And I'm in Shamat seats, which are baseline to the bench. So there's 2 seats, and then Andrew Bogut and David Lee, Draymond, everybody on the team. So I start yelling at Steve Kerr. Curry, a Bush League. You're up 30. You got Steph Curry in there. You got Clay. What if he twists his ankle? You're a terrible coach. Who leaves their, starters in when you're up 30? And he's just really annoyed by me. And so,
really,
yeah,
it was shocking.
So, who's the old guy who went to Miami and got the bag and then came back?
Andre
Iguodala just starts getting into it with me, and he starts wailing on me and I don't know Bogut or any of them yet because Chamath just bought the team, and literally, I get a tap on my shoulder, and the security guard gives me a card. I read the card. It says, "This is your first and final warning for interacting with the players. If you do that, you'll be ejected from the game." So I say to the guy, and the guy says, "If you say another word, security is going to kick you out. Please don't say another word. We don't want to kick you out." I'm in Chamath's owner seats. He gets a call the next day from somebody on the team that there was somebody being belligerent in the seats. He's like, "Jake, you can't act like that in my seats, or I can't give you the seats." And I'm like, "I'm sorry, Chamath. I just got excited about the game." 2 weeks later, Chamath has Bogut over to play poker at the house. Bogut recognized. He's like, "You're that guy." We start yelling and screaming. And Bogut's winning. And I just walked by him. He's got a stack of chips in front of him. And I said, "You're soft." And I just pushed his shy chip stack over. Bogut's like 7'2". He would break me now.
And not soft.
And not soft at all.
Soft.
And I said, "You're so soft." And I just knocked his whole stick. He had his chips. Some guys stack their chips perfectly and then turn the chips so each one is like a straight line. And I just knocked them all over out my way to the bathroom. And then Bogut and I became great friends, and still to this day are good friends. And you helped him with his podcast.
Yeah.
And then the last story, I'm at the I'm sitting in courtside seats in the Warriors finals versus Raptors. Kyle Lowry is in the seat next to me. I kid you not. He's the last seat on the bench for whatever reason. He likes that seat. And I'm the first seat after it. And there's a little bit of space between us and a security guard. So it's me, security guard behind, and Kyle Lowry. So he starts getting into it with me. I didn't even start. He's like, "What's up with your guys?" Because they were up like 10 points. And I said, "Listen, you better win this year because there's no way Kawhi's coming back." And he's like, "Oh, fuck you." Whatever. Going back and forth. But we're not like talking loud. We're just talking like two guys sitting next to each other. And I'm like, "This is your only chance at a title. You better get it now." I mean, like, respect for your game, but Kawhi's not staying in Toronto with you guys. He's going to the Lakers. And the security guard just like literally says, "If you say one more word to Kyle Lowry, we're going to remove you." And I was like, they really take it seriously now.
Well, it's funny. A lot of the times that you've been screaming at players have actually been caught on camera. So that Kyle Lowry one, I don't know if you remember, but
there is a video clip of it.
Yeah, right. And you were in like a full suit. So and you're standing up right next to the bench. You look like an assistant coach. Like you're screaming at him.
Yes.
And you at one point I think he got his fourth foul, and you were looking at him going, "That's four. And there's a video of it, and they just you, and it's I think it's like the finals. Yeah, it's the finals.
It's the finals. Yeah, it was game 3, I think, or something. It was crazy. That was awesome.
Another time, so you also brought me to a 49ers game on Monday Night Football against the Seahawks, but you're a basketball aficionado. You don't really know football that much.
No.
So we go to the football game. And, it's Niners Seahawks. There's a couple Seahawks fans like around us or whatever. I don't really have a dog in the fight, right? I'm a Giants fan. I don't care. You're rooting for the Niners because your friend owns the team.
Yeah.
And you.
Oh, yeah. My friend gave me those seats. That's right.
Yeah. So you're leaning over to me. Yeah, it was great. It was amazing. And you're leaning over to me and you're going, also side thing, but the fact that the San Francisco called themselves a San Francisco team is out of control. They're like an hour and a half from the city.
No, yeah, you got to take
crazy. It's more egregious than the Giants playing in Jersey and being in New York. It's worse than that. Anyway,
San Jose.
You're leaning over to me and you're like, "What are they doing?" I'm like, "They're punting." And you're like, "Is that bad?" I'm like, "Yeah, it means that they're not doing good." Yeah. And then you're yelling at "Hey, Seahawks, nice punt, you loser!" Screaming at the fans for us. You turn over, you're like, "What's happening?" I'm like, "Oh, they just got sacked."
Yeah, he's giving me
that good
the
for
notes.
us. I'm like, "Yeah." You're like, "Hey, nice sack, you loser!" Everything you're asking,
pretty
I'm
bold
telling
to
you,
come
you're
to a 49ers
screaming
game
at the
as a
guy in front of us.
Seahawks fan.
Like,
it is a pretty great stadium. I will say that. Like, I had a friend who has the best box on the 50.
It's a great stadium if you're
great stadium, great
VC.
Oh man, it's so expensive. It's ridiculous.
Well, no, it's so for anyone who is interested in like stadiums and how they're laid out and which ones are like fan friendly, which ones are not. The Niners Stadium, I don't even know it used to be Candlestick. I don't know what it's called now, but
Levi Stadium.
Yeah, half of it is like a normal stadium, and the other half, the half that we were looking at, is all boxes. Like the entire other half of the stadium is all press boxes. It's nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, dope if you're in a press box, but
football, I don't mind being in the box. For basketball, I want to be as close as possible. For me, I now know what I like. I mean, it's great to sit courtside or the second or third row, but those seats are so crazy expensive, and it is a different type of experience. But for me, when I want to actually take the game in, 8th row center. I love an 8th row, 6th, 7th, 8th
center.
row.
You want to be on the side where the teams are, right?
Yes.
Not where the
Yeah. I when I say center, I mean like, actually, take it back. On the Knicks side, the center of the Knicks side. So that would be like the 25th percentile, right? So a quarter. So I like to be behind the Knicks bench, where the Warriors bench, like 6 rows up, 8 rows up. So I have a little bit of height so I can see the game, but not so far up that I'm looking down on their head.
You don't like being on the Chase Bridge at MSG?
I've never been on the Chase Bridge.
80 rows up.
That sounds scary. I get vertigo. I don't know.
No, it's like the cheap tickets, but you can barely see anything that's going on.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw the Nets. Nets are trying to sell $11 tickets on StubHub. It's $11 to go to. I'm sorry, not Knicks, Nets.
Yeah, no, I know.
It's $11 to see Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
Don't you wish you came to the Knicks? Did you see the Bing Bong?
Yeah.
Oh, it's so great. Bing Bong.
Yeah, that was a good.
I would love to call a game. I would be color commentary. I should do that with CP one time.
Yeah, you should just go live. I mean, people live stream themselves doing weirder things than.
I think you would get your account banned. I think it's
no. I mean, you can't have the game up on screen with you, but you can be watching the game, so people know to watch the game.
I wonder if that's legal too, because I think that they stopped. Because I got pitched. No, I don't think it is, because I got pitched on a couple of startups. Here's the thing: they sell the rights to the play-by-play to radio stations, and they have to pay for that, the rights to broadcast the play-by-play. So you could do it and not get in trouble, but if you built a business around it, they would stop you. So I got pitched on many different businesses that wanted to create like a radio app where you could listen to one of 7 people, and it would be fan-based, and people don't allow it. All right, this has been great. Should I do one more question? You got another question for me, or we just get out of here?
I feel like we've done enough.
We've never done enough. 2 hours enough? Okay. All right, everybody. We'll see you all tomorrow or the next day. Maybe I'll do another live stream tomorrow.